Welcome to Community Connections. I'm Tom Laux, and today I have Mel Pederson here. He's the new Chief of Police for Grand Rapids, and I'm going to turn it over to Mel and have him introduce himself.
Well, I'm Mel Pederson, recently appointed the new chief in the town of Grand Rapids on January 13th. Spent pretty much my whole career in law enforcement. I was born and raised in Wisconsin Rapids, and I started my law enforcement career here in Wisconsin Rapids. I left Wisconsin Rapids and went in the Marine Corps. I was a helicopter pilot, flew CH-53 troop transport and heavy lift helicopters in the Marine Corps for a little over 7 years, and then after I got out of the Marine Corps, came back to the area and ended up getting hired in Oshkosh as a police officer there. I only spent about 5 months in Oshkosh when Legacy INS, Immigration Naturalization Service, called in Chicago, and I took a special agent position down there with them. Worked in Chicago after 9/11, of course. They created the Department of Homeland Security, and Legacy INS got caught up in that merger for not only INS but Legacy Customs, and we became part of Department of Homeland Security. We then became Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. The investigative arm, which I was a part of as a special agent, went through several different name changes, but they finally settled on Homeland Security Investigations, so I did that up until my retirement in January, before coming here to back home to Grand Rapids. So.
All right, well, you have a great, interesting career, and we get to hear about it. That's awesome. Let's talk about back when you wanted to do law enforcement. What made your decision to do that?
After I graduated from high school, I wasn't, at the time, I wasn't interested in going to a four-year college, and law enforcement intrigued me, and so I signed up and got enrolled up at, it used to be called District 1 Technical College up in Eau Claire. It's now called the Chippewa Valley Technical College. But as I went through got my 2-year degree, it really intrigued me, and I was lucky enough to get hired down here in Wisconsin Rapids, and that's kind of how it all started. It wasn't, the more I got into it, I guess the more intrigued I was by it, and just wanted to serve the community, be involved with the community, and I think this was a perfect way of doing that.
Well, now you're back home. How does that feel to be back home and in a job as Chief of Police for Grand Rapids? It
feels great. It is really good to be back home. Even though my travels have taken me all over the country and of course in the Marine Corps all over the world, you know, this has always been home for me. Still, you know, the rest of my family lives here, and it was always home, so it's good to be back.
Well, the timing worked out perfectly. What intrigued you to apply for the Chief of Police?
A couple of things. In federal law enforcement, they have mandatory retirement. And from my standpoint, it's way too young. So, you know, I still enjoy what I do. I like coming to work every day. And basically in April, you know, they were going to kick me out of that job whether I wanted to or not, because I would have hit the mandatory retirement age. So probably about over a year ago, I started, you know, planning and job searching for someplace so I could continue doing work in law enforcement. And so happened that, you know, they had the job opening right here in Grand Rapids, and I was lucky enough to, you know, submitted my application, was lucky enough to get selected. So the timing was almost perfect. So it was a good opportunity. Not only did it bring me back home, but the timing as far as us being able to kind of switch careers, switch gears a little bit, and still stay in law enforcement. So.
Well, if you're just joining us, I have Mel Pederson here in the studio, and he's the new Chief of Police in Grand Rapids. Let's talk about a few things that you're looking to do here with being on that new position here in Grand Rapids, your new position. What are some of the things you're looking to do now and really into the future?
Well, it's still early yet, so I'm doing a lot of listening and just trying to absorb, what the Grand Rapids Police Department, kind of how they operated in the past, and just get a feel for, the community, the officers that work for me, and really just kind of evaluate, the whole department, and see, things we can change, things we might not be able to change right away. But I think, the Grand Rapids Police Department, from what I've seen so far, they got a great bunch of guys and gals that work there, and I'm really excited to be working with them, and we'll just take steps forward to try to improve and kind of keep and maintain what the good things they're already doing there.
Well, in your position, you have a chance to work with area residents in Grand Rapids and the area as well. A lot of people get to see you. People want to talk to you. What's the best way to get a hold of you? Is it email? Is it in person? What way do you like to communicate with your residents?
I've come in and I pretty much have an open door policy. If I'm in the office, people can stop by, and people have been stopping by. People I haven't seen and talked to for quite some time, obviously. So they're always welcome to stop in. They can call the Grand Rapids Municipal Building and see if I'm in. If they want to set up an appointment to come in and see me, that's fine. Obviously, I can go out and meet with people also, but that's the best way. They also can reach me by email. My email address is listed on the town website. So, if they want to drop me an email or drop me a phone call, either way, or come in person, that's the best way to do it.
Well, being Chief of Police is a bit different than being an officer every day out on the streets. There's quite a bit of stuff involved as Chief of Police. You're only 6 or 7 weeks into the job, and we are recording this at the end of February. So when people here are viewing this, you might have 9-10 weeks into the job.
Sure.
But it takes a lot of time. You see yourself maybe 3-4 months just to get a feel for the job. I think any job is like that nowadays, but this one is a big job, and it requires a lot of work to do. So let's just talk about a little bit how you train yourself differently if you were back when you started as a police officer as in today as Chief of Police. What's the difference in those two roles?
Well, right now the biggest change that I've seen throughout my career is technology. It's so different than when I started many years ago that it's in every department or when I was working for INS and through HSI, at the end there, the technology and the different databases and systems, it's so heavily relied upon the computer that it's the technology, it's really hard to keep up with that, because something that you have today in 2 years is outdated. So just trying to keep up with that. Obviously, the technology that I used with HSI down in Chicago is a lot different than the technology we use here. You know, specifically the computer terminals in the squad cars. You know, back when I worked for Wisconsin Rapids, we didn't have that. So that's one thing I got to get up to speed on. We're dealing with that. Surprisingly, like our case management and report writing is very similar. It's the platform it's on is a little bit different, but I was surprised at how similar they were to what we use down there. The ones up here are actually a little bit more updated than what we use down there, but you know, the basic platforms, I think for a lot of the systems are the same. So that won't be as big as it's primarily the computer terminals in the squad cars that I'll have to get used to.
Yeah, in the past 5 years, it's really changed. I believe in a lot of the areas, the patrol officer can actually produce the ticket right there if there was for some kind of needing a ticket or even a warning.
Sure.
Print it out without filling an original card by hand, which makes reporting for the officer easier than they have to go back probably later in the day before their shift ends to do a big report. So, but technology, it has its things, and it can work, and sometimes it doesn't work. We've all been there.
Right, exactly, yeah. Makes you wonder how we ever survived back in the day without computers and stuff. So.
Sometimes they say it saves time. I think it creates more time.
If it's working properly, yes, it saves time.
Let's talk about, will people see you in a squad car later on?
Yes, they will. The chief of police position for Grand Rapids is a working chief's position, so they will see me out and about in a squad car, and actually I'm kind of looking forward to that. It's been a while, but I think that's one of the duties of this position that I'm really looking forward to kind of get back to the roots of law enforcement, and that's the patrol officer, the guy out on the street. So I'm looking forward to that.
So protect and serve, and
yes,
you
sir.
will be in full gear outfit as an officer, so you have to have all that.
Absolutely.
So the training is needed for that. You have to be have a gun and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So I think that leads us right into, how do you train yourself in this kind of position every day before you get up? It is a dangerous position, we all know that. How do you've been doing this for a long time, protecting and serving the public. How do you get your mindset when you wake up in the morning and you know it's dangerous, but maybe that certain people it doesn't affect as much?
Well, first of all, training is constant. Whether you're doing it locally or through the state, or you're doing it, at the federal level, it's just something that's ongoing. For example, our defensive tactics, firearms, we had quarterly qualifications and quarterly training that was mandatory for us through Homeland Security investigations. So. And then in addition to that, you have all the other, some of it is classroom training, where it may only be for an hour or two, or some of it is web-based training. It's mandatory that we had this virtual university that there was certain requirements that we would have to do this training online. So. And a lot of it's the same here. You can have classroom, you can have hands-on. Some things you can do via the internet, through a slide presentation or a video. But, through that training, I think I mean, I don't even think about it when I get up in the morning. It's just something that I've been doing so long and for so many years that it's just, I don't know if you call it second nature, but it's something that I think when you first get into this business, maybe there's an adjustment period, but after you've done it for a few years, it just kind of becomes a routine. So.
Grand Rapids has their town board meetings the second week of the month.
Sure.
Will you be giving a report to the town board?
Yes. Typically, every town board meeting, I do give a report. A lot of it is just basic numbers, call for service. It's broke down, and the town board receives a copy of that every month.
How many law enforcement officers are on your staff now?
Yeah, we have 4 full-time officers, and then, of course, myself, so it's a total of 5. We have several part-time officers. Met with the Police and Fire Commission last week, and they authorized us to hire 3 new part-time officers. By the time this airs, the posting will probably be closed, but we are looking for some additional part-time officers that can help fill in for the full-timers for vacations and time off and things like that. So that's currently out there, and we're looking at bringing on some part-timers. So any new guys out there that are looking to get into this business, I think a part-time position is a good way to get your feet wet and see if it is something that you really want to pursue as a career, or if it's something help you get on full-time. And obviously, when we do have full-time positions, we look at our part-timers first to see if that's would be a fit for us to bring them on full-time also.
Does the staff work 24 hours a day? Is there always coverage in Grand Rapids, or is that maybe if something happens you would get called in at 2, 3 in the morning?
We have 24/7 coverage. Sometimes that's a little difficult with our minimal staff, but our goal is to have 24/7 coverage.
We have a large area to cover.
Yes.
It's really spread out. Mm-hmm. Do you guys get into the area, Kellner area at all, in that area, which kind of by Lake Wazeecha, the 2 lakes, or the 1 lake there? Do you get in that area as well?
We do cover be west of 80th Street that runs through Kellner there. So that's kind of you get on the east side, of course that's Portage County, so that's obviously not our jurisdiction. It's handled by Portage County, but everything to the west is Grand Rapids, and we respond to those calls in those areas.
54 is a little part of your area as well.
Mm-hmm.
It is a major highway, so if there is some kind of a traffic crash out there, which pretty much bit past Buren all the way up almost to that, not to the county line exactly, but right in that area, you have to go out there, especially by some of those businesses before it turns 65, I believe. It's 50 miles an hour in that area. So, well, I want to welcome you to the area and back home. I think it'll be a great addition to Grand Rapids and for the residents, and get to see out there and help protect and serve and really help that area grow. So,
thanks.
Thanks for coming on to the show. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you for inviting me.
Righty. And that's a wrap here on Community Connections, and I would thank you for joining in. We'll see you next time.